This lesson is about irregular verbs in preterite. I am using the information from pages 284, 285, and 286. We're talking about verbs that have a lot of changes when you are conjugating them in preterite. The verb to drive has a letter C, but when you are conjugating it, you have a J. That's what makes it irregular. Same thing with to bring and to say or to tell. Also, to say or to tell has a E after the D, but when you conjugate it, there is no E after the D. There's an I after the D. So that's what makes it irregular. So I drove, you drove, formal, you drove, he drove, she drove, we drove, you all drove. In Spain, you all drove, you all drove. Brought, said, told. These are verbs in preterite. The verb to walk has a after the D, but when you are conjugating it in preterite, there's always a U after the D, and that's what makes it irregular. Same thing with the verb to be. There's an A after the T in the infinitive form of the verb, but when you are using a preterite, there's a U after the T. That's what makes it irregular. And to have also has a U after the T, and there's a V. There's no V in the infinitive form of the verb, but when you conjugate it, it's added. I had, you had, formal you had, he had, she had, we had, you all had in Spanish. In Spain, you all had, they had. These verbs are irregular because they have a lot of changes. For example, the infinitive form of the verb to be able or can. I can do this, I could do this, I was able to. After the P there's an O, but in the conjugation there's no O, there's a U. The verb to put or to set has an O after the P, and there is no S in the infinitive form. But when you're conjugating it, there's a U after the P and there's an S. Same thing with to know. So I knew, you knew, formal you knew, he knew, she knew, we knew, you all knew in Spain, you all, they knew. To give, to see, to come. The verb to give has an A after the D, but when you conjugate it, there's an I. Same thing with to see or to watch. Same thing to come. To make and to want. After the H, there's an A when the verb is in infinitive form, but when you conjugate it, there's an I after the H, and also sometimes there's a C and sometimes there's a Z. To want there's an E after the U, and there are no S in the infinitive form. But when you conjugate it, there's an I and there's an S. I made, you made, formal you made, he made, she made, we made, you all made in Spain, you all, they made. The verb to go and to be have the same spelling. And also they look totally different. I went, you went, formal you went, he went, she went, we went, you all went in Spain, you all they went. I was, you were, formal you were, he was, she was, we were, you all were in Spain, you all they were. To sleep, the letter O is going to change to a UE if it's the present tense, but it's going to change to a U if it's in preterite. So that's why you see the U after the D sometimes. The E in the verb to ask for is going to change to an I, and these ones have acentos. These ones have stressed written accent marks. The other ones didn't. In to prefer, sometimes you have an E after the verb and sometimes you have an I after the verb. So this is what makes these verbs irregular. They have very different ways of spelling. They do not follow rules. They are not regular verbs, they are irregular verbs.